sometimes you don't actually know what you need as an entrepreneur unless you're actually out there and connecting with people and learning and seeing things and being like, wow, Linda does it this way. Like, I didn't even know that that concept existed. You're going to stay in your shell. You're going to end up staying in that shell. Like, you need to really get out there and just be open to the possibilities and like how creative people are, and the things that they're doing. Cause like it really does take a community when you're trying to do that thing that you want to do.
Hello, welcome to Monetizing Mompreneurs podcast, where I take you behind the scenes with industry leaders, entrepreneurs, moms, working professionals, and amazing people pursuing their passions and going for their dreams. And I'm your host, Linda Mendable. Sarah Jansel, nicknamed the Shopify Queen, is the CEO of Jansel and Co, where she and her team build, brand, and grow awesome Shopify stores. As a former Shopify store owner, Sarah sought out as much information as she could on how to set one up, run it, and make it profitable. She then took this passion to a whole new level with using the knowledge to help others get their products and services online through coaching and client services, masterclasses in her Facebook group, speaking engagements across the globe, and episodes she records on the I Created That podcast. Sarah's background has mainly been in the corporate world, having worked 20 years in business operations and human resources. She held leadership roles for companies across North America, including TD, PwC, Scotiabank, and her last role as the VP People and Operations at CARFAX Canada. Sarah holds diplomas in HR management, management consulting, is certified as a Prosci Change Management Professional, is a certified Klaviyo Partner, Shopify and Omnisend Partner, and has her Master's of Business Executive Management and Royal Roads University. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I always laugh when I hear all those things. I'm like, oh, that's a lot. Did I do all that stuff? It's
Yes, so
amazing.
I'm so excited to have you on the show. That was an amazing bio. So tell us like your story on how you created your Shopify store, what took you, I guess, from corporate world to being a store
Mm.
owner to now servicing others on having their own Shopify store.
Yeah, no, for sure. So really excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me. And, my story definitely starts like when I was way younger, always had a creative flair, was really into art, was trying to find a way to do something design related. And of course, life kind of happens and I find myself down the corporate train and, I really enjoyed that. And, I spent 20 years in that kind of climbing the ladder and trying different jobs. But I found the jobs that I was selecting were always very much like building branding and growing teams. So while they might have had like traditional sales or operations or HR titles, the work I was doing was very different. It was like very project based and like, how do you come in and like build something? But I always felt in the corporate world, and if anybody's in corporate listening to this, they'll know there's only so much creativity that you can really have in those roles. Like you can definitely make it your own, but I just always felt like, I wanted to do more, but obviously within the confines of like a corporate structure. So, I would have all these like ideas about starting businesses and like, kind of quickly brush them off like, oh, that's silly. I could never do that, or oh, that's silly. Could I really make an income? And, kind of discounted it until one day on a vacation with my husband, I was like, that's it. I feel like I'm not getting any younger. I keep talking about this. I see people out there doing this and building online businesses. I love fashion. It's always been something I've wanted to get into. I'm just going to figure it out and start a fashion business. And that's really how it happened. Came home, registered a business number, started it. And 3 years later, after running my fashion company, the pandemic hits when I had actually hired a coach to help me continue to scale that business. And I was still working my corporate job. So I never really saw it as corporate or this fashion thing. It was like corporate and it was just, something I was really having fun with. And then, at this coach I hired, we couldn't meet initially. And so we're like, oh, like everybody else in the pandemic, like in a couple of weeks, we'll meet in person again. A couple of weeks, we'll meet in person again. And then finally I get on the phone with her and she's like, I know you hired me to help you scale this fashion thing, but like I have about 3 or 4 clients right now who actually need your skills because you know how to build businesses. You've been coaching for a long time and they need to figure out how to get their products online. Like, would you be willing to work with these people? And I remember thinking, yeah, sure. Like, am I going to charge them? Do I just help? So I took a couple of these clients on and very quickly realized that it was sort of that mix of like creativity and like helping people build the businesses and making things look really beautiful on design. It kind of like packaged everything I loved up in one piece. And I thought, you know what, that's it. I'm going to make the jump and quit. So I actually quit my job 2 months after that, which is a big jump. But I thought, if I was ever going to take a risk, through these turbulent times, people actually need this service and it's something that I can offer. And so that's really how I got into this.
That's amazing. I want to jump into like a few points that you said because I know one of the mostly asked questions is how do I transition from a corporate world into the entrepreneurial field? So, did you have savings? Did you have a buffer? Was there a plan B or was it all just plan A and we burned the bridges, burn the boats, like
Yeah.
what happened?
Yeah, I would say as I was building my fashion business, because that was really like the tipping point for me, it was kind of like dipping my toe in and having what I called a side hustle. But I feel like I was really closet kind of training as an entrepreneur. And I feel like a lot of our clients kind of do that too. It's like, hey, I have this job that I work day to day, but it's not my dream. Like this thing's my dream. And so I'm going to try to build that to the point that like I know I just need to leave my job or I know I'm not going to have enough time or whatever it is to kind of leave. And I find that like that's okay. Like, and I think that's why I tried to highlight it wasn't like entrepreneur or, corporate Sarah. It was kind of both for a while because I was a little risk adverse at the time and sort of trying to figure out like, can I actually do this? I did actually plan for that. Like I did sock some money away. I was thinking about that as an opportunity. I feel like I almost was trying to convince myself that I could do this. And I think a lot of people do that. Like, is this really possible? Like you see people do this, but could I do this? And then I think once I found that perfect mix of like, whoa, like this is kind of what I was trying to figure out, like the fashion business kind of led me to the thing that I wanted to do. And I only closed that actually in February to focus on our clients because it just got too much to kind of do both for me. And I was really enjoying the client part that it was like that convinced me that like this is the thing that is really bringing me joy. And it was something that I was really missing in my corporate job where I was like, it just was not lighting me up anymore. And sure, I was making the money, but I really felt like I needed to kind of have a change. And I was like, I could keep going down this path, but I'm not going to be happy. So it's kind of a culmination of things of testing the waters. Yeah, I socked some money away, kind of thinking this is a rainy day, but there was also, like, I'm just going to take a risk on this because in the back of my mind, I was like, if it doesn't work out, I can always go get another job. Like I'm not going to die. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, no, that's incredible. We're monetizing mompreneurs. And so when you hired a coach, and that coach was mainly for your Shopify store, correct?
that's right. Yep.
Right? Yeah, and great job on that because I really believe we need coaches to scale, to keep us accountable, to make sure that we go to those next levels and hit those moments that we are getting stuck. So
Yes.
now you've hired the coach, she saw your skill set, she saw what you were great at, and she referred clients to you. Now, what was your process in actually accepting these clients? Did you put together a package? Did your coach help you put together a package? What was your whole process with that?
Yeah. So I feel like the first client for me was almost like the testing ground. Actually, now she's on our team, which is kind of funny, like full circle a few years later. But she was starting a business and she had a website and was trying to figure out, Shopify. She had no idea how to use it. And so my first client was really like, hey, let's book a strategy call. And so there wasn't a ton of necessarily pre work other than kind of looking at her front end and then having conversation with her. So I feel like I was able to kind of ease into it a little bit and build my confidence, I would say, because the thing is I find as new entrepreneurs, you kind of jump into something and then it's like we almost feel a little bit like a newborn. Like I've completely forgot everything I just did for 20 years to help people build businesses and suddenly I'm in this new thing and I feel a little bit like a fish out of water. But the reality is it was very quick on the call that I was like able to answer her questions and like, have you thought of this and all of these things and add value that I think that really started to make me feel like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I could see this as a thing. And it actually took a few clients where I treated them almost a little bit like market research. Like they weren't full out market research because I was also serving them, but I felt like understanding their questions and really listening to some of the challenges they have and like thinking back to like, what did I struggle with? Like there was a moment when I tried to build my store when I was like, maybe this is too hard, right? And there were certain things that I felt like I could be like, hey, you're going to run into these things. And then I was able to kind of develop more of a package or more of a strategy around like, here are the things that you need to think about if you want to build a Shopify store that are going to help you make that profitable. So you don't always know everything right off the bat. It did take a little bit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. I mean, that's why not everyone comes into entrepreneurship. You do have to have like a certain skill set, a certain bounce back
Yeah.
ability, because it can get very, for lack of a better term, like depressing if you don't know how to pick yourself up into those moments that, oh shoot, you're in a famine mode. You just finished out your feast mode. Now you're in the famine. How do you take charge of these waves? Things sometimes happen in waves when you're in this entrepreneurship life, right? Have you seen those memes where it's up one
Oh
moment,
yeah.
it's down the next? And that's
It's
exactly,
true.
yes, it's true. And I want our audience to know like, we all go through it, even though it looks like some of us are killing it, right? And a lot of us are, but even if you have like a whole bunch of clients and things happening well, there's always going to be those moments that you're going to be doubting your next decision or that next launch, or and then, oh man, why didn't it turn out this way? Why is it like this? Right? We're always going to have those moments that actually have us questioning, are we doing the right thing? Am I meant to do this? And
Absolutely.
you have to have that faith. Okay, so now let's go ahead and transition. You went ahead, build your coaching business, right?
Mhm.
Coaching clients.
Mhm.
And you're also a designer for Shopify, correct?
Mhm. Yep.
So you also
Yep.
design, which is commendable. And now the person that you first had contact with, she's on your team. And so how did that happen? I think that's fascinating. How
Yeah.
did that happen?
For sure. I mean, my first year when I started, I kind of just took a leap of faith and to some degree, you have to kind of do that when you start a business. Like you're not going to have it all figured out. And like coming from a corporate world and like I tend to be a little more on the corporate type A end, it was like, "Oh, I got to get all these things sorted." And it was like, I really look back on that and I think I'm glad that I just kind of jumped in and like jumped into some things to learn and I very quickly learned what I did and did not like. And so for the first year, I started in coaching. I was showing clients how I really wanted to empower people because I feel as a startup or a mompreneur or somebody that doesn't have the world's budget, to spend on things, to some degree, you're going to wear the hats in your business. So it was like helping people be dangerous enough to manage things. But I very quickly realized, nope, you know what? I don't think people actually have time for that. And the end product isn't always the best either, depending on how much time or investment they have in that. So we switched to client services. So while I had helped that particular client in the coaching realm, we had stayed in touch and she actually had a fashion business as well. So it was a lifestyle business, but she had some fashion. So we actually did some exchanges. Like I wore her fashion and, kind of was an influencer for her and vice versa. And it was like, we kind of built this relationship over time. And then she wanted to get into doing design. And I was like, I was a big fan of her brand, of everything she was doing. And I kind of fangirled her. And she was like, no, I'm fangirling you. I'm like, no, I'm fangirling you. So we had a conversation that I'm like, hey, now that you're into this, like maybe this could be a thing. And so really excited this month. She's actually coming on board and like super proud of that because I'm like, she does amazing work. I think she's going to be a great fit. She knows enough about business. So it's just one of those things where, I kind of built a relationship with one of the clients outside of just the client strategy. And I find that's the big thing with being an entrepreneur is that support and community and how that will shift over time.
Yeah, that's super amazing. And it's just a testament to how you're rocking it out and building your business. So now let's talk about like the process that you have. There is one pressing question that I have. How do you get your clients? Was it in referrals? Was it a social media marketing strategy? Was the LinkedIn strategy? Because I know that's big right now. How was it that you actually started onboarding your clients and booking clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think people are often surprised to know that, like, I would say about 80% of my business is client referral.
Hmm.
And that was how it started. It was like, you kind of work with one client and then, the word kind of gets out there, or somebody is like, oh, you should talk to Sarah, And I also felt that I picked a bit of a niche where, yeah, there are a lot of web designers out there, but it was like, not a lot of people actually primarily specialize in Shopify. And it is a very different tool than WordPress or Wix or Square and things like that. So I feel like that kind of gave me a leg up. But yeah, it was very much referral based. And so that repeat business and things was really helpful. But this year I kind of got to a point where I was like, and there is some stuff coming from Instagram and here and there, but I would say it's majority was referral based. So, I started doing things like taking mastermind programs, working with coaches, right? Like building out that network, also growing and learning on my own. And then realize, especially with client services, and I don't know, maybe you find this too, Linda. I was like, how do I reach a broader audience? Like I've got a podcast now, so that's helpful. People have a place to kind of hang out and, listen in and get value and like evaluate me. But like, how do you really start to get more people into the pipe? And so, for years in my corporate days, I used to do speaking events and, obviously have to come out and talk about buildings that we were building and all kinds of things with humans, that were involved in our businesses. And I was like, I really want to be doing that at a larger scale at what we're doing. Like, I want to get out and tell people that, like, hey, you can build a business. Hey, you can be a mompreneur. Hey, there are a few things that we can help you with. Or if you always had this dream, these are the things we can do. And, here's the beliefs that I had in business that helped me, that might help you, and things like that. So I've started to actually do some broader scale speaking events at more tech or product base. And we also have a small service client base as well. And I feel like that's really helped me to earn credibility and reach a broader audience, whether it's in person or virtual, to help supplement some of the things that are happening. If I really want to grow my business, the referrals are great, but like, how do you continue to grow that and get the brand out there?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's all about scaling, right? Like what's going to get
Hmm.
you into once you have your systems in place, now it's all about bringing more of an audience, right? And how do you get
Yes.
more of an audience? And I'm big at speaking engagements. Oh my goodness, does
Yeah.
that really widen the audience when you start being a speaker, when you start being invited to speaking engagements or even in speaking live in our FB group?
Hmm.
Those are actually opportunities because when people need to see people, and sometimes social media, yeah, it's great, but sometimes they need that a certain aspect, kind of like that classroom feel that they're actually getting a 30-minute talk from you or a 10-minute talk from you about your specific expertise. And I find those are very impressionable
Hmm.
and actually bring about kind of like a lifetime clients and
Yeah.
doubles the referrals on that. So I do agree with you on that. And we are planning on having summits in 2023,
Very cool.
yeah, so and like I'm all about giving that exposure to mompreneurs and having that platform because sometimes it's so hard to get on a podcast that you really want to get on, or it's hard to like how do I become a speaker? How do I get these opportunities? And to be honest, for me, getting those opportunities all started from my blog,
Yeah.
and we even had a mompreneur that she went on PBS and won the Great American
Wow.
Recipe, like a TV show. And it all started from her blog. And that's one of the things that people don't understand, like the power of where a blog can take you, even
Hmm.
if it's a video, but mine was all words and hers pictures. But I feel like you have to have some content and a flow of content that actually has people like, oh, we want to invite her. We want to have her speak to our audience. She has what our audience needs to take them to that next level or, facilitate them in a greater capacity. So I absolutely love that. So how did you started booking those opportunities? And then I want to go into your process. But so how did you started getting those speaking engagements?
Yeah. So for me, with some of the speaking engagements and things like that, like it kind of hit me actually this summer that like I should be doing this on a bit of a broader scale. But I would say to your point, like you kind of hit on the few things, like there's a lot of things that you can do. And there's a lot of things that I did and still do as a part of my business to really sort of get out there and have people hear my voice. Because people, while they might buy from my business, Jansel and Co., like, I mean, the reality is they're buying from me and they're evaluating, do they want to work with me? Do they feel that I have what they need to help them, go to the next level? And so for me, that was like I started a Facebook group and, I'd never done Facebook Lives before. And I was like, all right, we're just going to try this. And once a week, I'm going to get in that group and I'm just going to train on like a topic and try to engage the audience. And very quickly, I grew that and we've got over, 60 plus trainings. And so that was one way. Or Instagram lives or joining virtual coffee chats or, somebody I knew had a summit and I was like, hey, I'd love to come out and speak on this topic. Like, are you looking for anybody? A lot of these things are really, they kind of start with you and just kind of putting yourself out there and doing it. And then the podcast, of course, was going to help me get more exposure and get my message out in, a different way than people who aren't interested in a Facebook group and things like that. And that leads to one thing. So I think it's, it doesn't have to necessarily be like a specific route. I feel like it all kind of happened on its own very organically. Like I didn't have big master plan when I kind of got into this. I kind of worked my way through that and then realized like this would actually be something that's really good for me. And I find that with a lot of other entrepreneurs, it's like just being open to like the journey a little bit and trying new things, and you'll find kind of the path and the thing that was meant for you.
So I want to talk about your process. And we can go either into your coaching process or your Shopify process. But let's go into this question. What is the number one question you receive from your clients?
Yeah. Can anybody really do this? Yeah. So there's like,
Wow.
yeah. And it's funny because that's kind of the same thing that I shrugged off for years, right? Like, can I really do this? And it's, to me, it's not a question of capability. It's a question of, do I believe in myself enough to actually make this happen? And that isn't necessarily like a service question. It's definitely like a coaching question for me because I'm like, of course you can do this, but here's what it's going to take. You know what I mean? Like, why don't I fill you in on what it's going to be like as an entrepreneur or a Shopify store owner and where you're going to have to invest your time? And, if you feel like that's for you, then, you can do that. But I feel like as entrepreneurs, you kind of said this earlier too, Linda, when you were talking about coaches and that accountability and, having someone help take you to the next level, that's where some of these people really come into play. And I'm a huge believer of coaches and have worked with a bunch of them and love joining masterminds and things like that because there's always something I don't know. There's always something I'm trying to grow or something that someone can show me that I'm like, man, that just saved me like a world of pain and time. But I feel like that's probably one of the number one questions that I get is like, I'm trying to build this thing. Can this really work? And the answer is yeah, right? And everybody's business is a little bit different.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, sometimes you don't know unless you try, because
It's
it's
true.
really about will you enjoy it? Will you enjoy the process? And that's something that I had to figure out in just like stumbling onto where I'm at. Because, that's
Hmm.
how I feel like sometimes like you're in the dark and you're like
Yep.
feeling forward or walk, and then boom, you
Yes.
hit you hit
Yes.
the coffee table by mistake or stubbed your toe. Oh, that was the wrong move. Sometimes it could feel a little bit like you're stumbling around in the dark. And I feel as though when you do feel that way, that's when it's important to bring on a coach
Hmm.
and bring on someone to help you give that outside perspective and give you light on your path, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, where are you walking towards? What are your goals? Because right now you're just fumbling around in the dark trying to find your way to the light. And it's just as easy as someone like that knows where the light is and to switch it on for you so you can actually see the broader path. So I love that, can I actually do this? I also think that's a question of like, is this real? Is this possible? Is it possible to
Yes.
build a business online? And of course it is. And, we're doing it. And I find that what you said about community very important because I find that a lot of entrepreneurs are kind of like doing this thing solo.
Hmm.
And they think that by doing it solo, but just having very good copy, that they'll make it. And then really the reality is, yes, you need all of those. You need good copy, great design, but you also need that relationship aspect and that community feel. And that really positions you to have a steady stream of client work or referrals or and sales. You
Hmm.
know, when I had my template shop up, I had like a shop and I was making sales every day because my community was there. I took it
Yeah.
down because I'm working on a couple of things for it, just trying to elevate it. But I really found out that when you have a community and you have a Facebook group and you have an audience and kind of like that leader and you're going in their live, that really brings about more
Hmm.
impact than anything else. Not just impact for you, but impact for the people in your community, right? Like they get what they need to go to that next level and to go to that
Hmm.
next spot that they need to go. Okay, now you're onboarding your client, right? They're asking you, can I really do this? You're saying, yes, you
Hmm.
can. What's the next step that you take them through from there?
Yeah. So, I mean, it depends on where they're at in the space. And I think you actually hit something too earlier. It's like, what's your goal? Like everybody's goal is a little bit different. We have some people who want $1 million business and I want to travel the world and have this thing, earn me money and I'll work on my laptop. Awesome. Okay. Let's figure out what your business is and how you want to do that. Or we have like, hey, I just want to make enough money to actually pay for my kids' college or this family vacation we have, or hey, I'm doing this because I just really love this thing and I'm hoping it's going to make money. Like every single client is so different. There's quite a bit of touch points when we work with client, but we do a whole intake. Like initially I'll meet with someone and kind of get to know what they're doing. And then if we onboard them, we actually sit down and I make it my mission to know what they're trying to do inside and out so we can best represent them and really get underneath what's the goal? What are you trying to do? How can we help you show up in those places? So that's kind of more like on the strategic end of things and just how we kind of work and figure out like what's the best path and how do we treat this client and where do we go with design and things like that. But for the person that's out there listening, that's kind of like, I want to know about how do I actually start though? What do I actually need to think about if I think this sounds like a cool idea, but I don't really know where to start? We actually have a freebie for that. And we always talk to clients. There's kind of like three main things that they need to be thinking about. And number one is if you haven't thought of anything yet, you probably have an idea in your mind about what you would sell or what you might want to do. And typically it's like serving a former version of ourselves in some capacity. Like my fashion thing was because I liked a certain kind of fashion. I love the California vibes. I live in Canada. It's cold. We don't have a lot of cool embroidery and things like that here. So my vibe was to bring California vibes to Canada because I wanted to shop purchasing the things that I loved. So that's just one example. But I feel like, the first activity you would do with that, it's like, okay, great. I want to start a fashion brand. Like, now what? We always tell clients the three things are first, you want to think about who is the person that's going to buy that. And if it is a former version of you, you're going to want to think about what are the attributes or the things or, the age range, or are they a mom, or, all of these things. Who's the person that's actually going to buy from you? And what can you do to learn about that person to make sure that if you are going to start this thing, that you're going to resonate with them and you're going to be offering something that they love. So that's the first thing. The second
Okay,
thing is,
so that
yeah,
is creating your avatar, right?
yes, yes, hugely important.
Okay, step one, creating your
Yep,
avatar. Okay, let's go to
yep.
step two.
Yeah. So step two is all about your brand. And you can definitely DIY. I know my first fashion business, I did not. My first coaching business, I did. And then I had it redone. So there is something to be said about a professional, but you need to be thinking about brand, not just as like, hey, I need a logo. That's not a brand. A brand is now that you know who your ideal client is, how can you make your brand recognizable, memorable, unique, all the things that are going to actually suck them in and they're going to think, hey, that looks really cool. I want to check this out. And some of that is a logo, some of it's colors, some of it's your website. Like it's all the things there, how your Instagram page looks, how you talk, all the things. So your brand, it really needs to speak to that. That's step two. And then step three is thinking about your offer. We work with both product and service based because we primarily work on Shopify, but we also do Kajabi work because a lot of our service based clients actually start a product because they're typically referring something out that they're like, hey, wait a minute, I could actually be making an income here. So whether you're a product or a service, you really want to be thinking about, so great, who you want to sell to and who was going to buy. Now you look good. Like you've thought through kind of what are some of the components around branding that you really think will resonate with that audience. And then the third thing is like, how do you position that thing to sell? So if it's the California vibes to Canada, if we just go back to that example, for me, my audience was moms who wanted to wear super cute kimonos and like some of our fun flowy tops because they were easy to wash, they were a great price, and you could run around with the kids and still look cute. You didn't have to wear sweats. So like that was an audience that was actually buying that. It was like some of me, but not all of me, right? So it's kind of thinking through who's going to buy, how do I want to show up? And then like, how am I actually selling that to someone? Like, what are the things that the wants, the needs, the desires that are going to make somebody actually purchase?
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, shoot, I hope people were taking notes because that was right on point, right on the money. So that's pretty much like building the foundation, right? Because you
Mhm.
got to build the foundations when you're starting a business. If you don't know who your services is for, then how can you really reach out to them? How can you talk to them from a crowd, right?
Yeah. I always say like a confused eye never buys. If you don't know, they don't know, right? If you're
Yeah,
not clear, they're not clear.
I say if you confuse people, you lose people.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one. So true.
Yeah. Yes. And it is. Once you start confusing people, are like, oh my gosh. And that's why I always like guide my own clients, like pick three core services. Yes, you can offer a plethora of things, and that's wonderful and that's fine. But pick three core things to display on your website because people can get decision fatigue, right? It's a real thing.
Yes.
It's a scientific fact that people get decision fatigue. And you don't want to add to that. You just want to, hey, these are the three choices. If, and one of them could be that clarity call, like, hey, these other two are not working for you, get on the call, let's do a custom package. Or have those three displayed and say, I need more, something more custom, contact us, right?
Hmm.
But I love this because entrepreneurship, being a mom, my little one is in the back, playing her game while we're having this conversation. Sometimes the mom guilt can come in, and that's why I wanted, no, she is fine. I give her time. But being a mom, sometimes you need community. You need more of that community feel. And I feel like this bundle is definitely something that moms should capitalize on. Like if you're a mompreneur, and you're looking for minimal investment, but a whole lot of gains, like this bundle right here, because you would pay what, 5,000, almost $5,000.
Was it totaled? Yeah, $4,317.
So
Exactly. So if you bought, I mean, like some of the products are like 197. So I mean, you just bought one product and you more than you, I mean, you saved money. You saved yourself $100 right there, and you get like 55 other products. And so
and probably more than that, because a lot of contributors do put bonuses. So I can only imagine with these other contributors, if you're gonna have someone's brain, pick your brain, right? Pick someone's brain. I think a course is one of the best ways to do that aside from books. You can read you can read experts' books, right? But
Yep.
man, a course is really gonna get you the results that you want, and the templates, the swipe files.
Love
Right?
those. Yes. Oh my God.
Yes, I know, me too. And people are pretty much like, hey, here's how to build a profitable business. Here you go.
And like, why start from scratch? I mean, save yourself some time. When we are moms and we don't have time. And so for me, like templates, like my Canva is out of control. It's like I've bought things just for templates. And so Canva templates, email templates, don't start from scratch. And I mean, there's no shame in that. And then too, like you said, like these are people who've created courses, they've gone before you. So like, why are you sitting here recreating the wheel? Yeah, I'm excited about the bundle. I'm excited that, I get to bring like 55 of us together.
That's a feat.
And support other women and
grab
simplify your biz bundle by
grab
next Tuesday, the 13th.
before next Tuesday, the 13th. So grab it while you can, while it's still hot. It's gonna be super jam-packed. The experience is gonna be amazing, and you're just gonna get nothing but value. If there's just one course in there, one course that you're kind of thinking of, how do I do this? And that can make it worth it for you, get on it, because that one course can change your life. It can't, because I know one course changed mine. The information is out there for you to grab. And sometimes when you put a little bit of skin in the game, it allows you to be more accountable and actually take more action, because you're like, hey, I invested in myself. I might as well take action towards this. So that would be an amazing investment for you.
Now you help them build their foundation. What's the next greatest question that you get asked?
Yeah. So now they're like, all right, I'm ready to do this. Do I just put up an online store and it will sell? So this is actually a good one. This is a good one, because I think a lot of people think like people are just going to Google and find me, right?
Oh
And I
yeah.
mean,
Oh yeah.
right? It's a common misconception. And like I see how people get there.
It can. Yeah, it
Yeah, they
happens.
can.
I've had leads from I had a Google search, so it's possible you get your SEO right and you've had like a certain longevity within the internet, of
Hmm.
course. But you're
Yeah.
first starting out, so
That's
that's the
right.
thing that's
That's
likely to
right.
happen.
I know. I'm like, we call it like, you don't want to just put something out into the universe and then like have a hope plan, right? Well, maybe to your point, right? There's some things, but if you're going to hire someone to help you build the website, or you're going to put a product out there or do something, like you are going to be responsible for figuring out how do you now get it into the hands of that person that you thought was going to buy.
And
And,
this is the part. This is the part that
yeah,
stumps a lot of like entrepreneurs. This is the part people quit. This is the part that
yes.
people think it's a lot easier than what it really is. Well, the product looks amazing, but
Mm-hmm.
no one's buying. Why?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing wrong? Right? So go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so true. And like the biggest thing that I tell clients is if you've done all this work to think about like who the person is, where are they hanging out? Right. So, okay, cool. So it's Facebook, or, it's Instagram, or it's LinkedIn, or, maybe they're not even hanging out, maybe they're spending some time on there, but they're actually at women's events, or they're coming to some of these summits, that Linda's throwing and things like that. You got to be showing up there. Right? You got to be going there and talking about your product and marketing your product. Yes, ads are very helpful, but it's kind of, they're not as great as they used to be. Yes, you can get someone who's really good at ads that are going to help you target, but the goal here is to actually build relationships with these people, because people, and I know this about myself, sometimes I'm an impulse buyer. Not everybody is. But most times I've seen a brand time and time and time and time again. And then it's like, oh yeah, I saw that. Oh yeah. Like it's like 14 times somebody has to see something before they'll purchase. So there is some patience involved.
Oh yeah, that's one of the things that I had to ask myself. Like, how do I buy?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What makes me make that high ticket purchase, right? What makes me make that product purchase? Why am I buying that particular product? And for me, email. For me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the emails. I purchase
Yeah,
things in my email, like
me too.
email.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was one time I purchased on like social media, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But my big thing right now is email, like where I
Yes.
purchase personally. And that's why I've invested in email marketing, because I was like, well, if I make purchases like that, why not learn that space? So, how do you make purchases?
Yeah, so I would say the same. And did you know that so there's SMS, there's social media, like text, email, all the things. Email is actually the number one platform that people buy.
That is
Like
not
period.
surprising.
Period. Yeah, like there's some crazy stats I read on that. I'll be interested to see on the product side, like what comes out of Black Friday and things like that. But most businesses, whether you're small startup or you're these big box companies that are out there selling, they have been investing a ton in email. And why? Because exactly what Linda just said. You can say more, you can build relationships. If someone's giving you their information, they genuinely want to hear from you. And then you just have to get good, like making sure
Yes,
that you're using those things you know about them to bring them in so that they go and check out your stuff.
it's so real. It's so
Yep.
real. And I said,
Yep.
and I've invested in like a 6-month program just for email,
Mm-hmm. Me
because I'm
too.
like, shoot, I gotta go to that next level. Like, yes, I love my referrals, and I love the referrals from my Facebook group, but email's where it's at.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. It's so true. I know a lot of people are like, isn't email dead? I'm like, no, it's the
No,
a number
it
one platform people buy
because you
on.
can You can unsubscribe if you don't want to hear. Like I genuinely, like I do, like I follow certain people, and I may not be because I'm so busy that I'm not like on IG that much. I'm IG showing up for me and my business and stuff
Yep.
like that. And I do like seeing other people's, and but I'm not like in there that deep. But I do read my emails. Even though
Yeah.
I am one of those that my inbox is not at zero, is actually at 4,500 unread emails, but I still pick and choose who I want to hear from,
Yep.
you know? And so I think our audience should definitely be aware of that when they're trying to scale their business or grow their business. And maybe pay attention on growing that email list, as people have
Hmm.
been saying for years.
Yes.
Grow that email list. The small voice.
You got to listen to that voice.
Yes. Okay, so aside from email and everything like that, and so now they're trying to make sales, and where do people usually get their first sale from
Yeah.
when it comes
So
to Shopify?
I love this question. I know mine was like friends and family.
Mm,
And you know what? Almost always that's the case, unless you have a brand that's been out there. And this is very advisable if you're thinking about starting something. Get out there on these platforms and start sending an email and start, having the Instagram page or the Facebook page and start talking about how you're coming soon and why people should pay attention to that and why it's cool. And, we just had a really cool business as a mom. She's selling these amazing, like, iPad cases with like a stand so that kids aren't getting tech neck and things like that. So this is like huge. But for like 8 months, and I know it sounds crazy because she also has a day job and things like that, but for 8 months, she was out there on Instagram and she was building relationships and she was going to events and, she was starting her email list and things like that. And when she launched her business, all of a sudden she had all these people purchase from her. But had she not, she typically would have seen like the friends and family that knew about it that want to get out there and support her and her amazing product. Right. So, typically that's where it's at, but there are ways around building community in advance and bringing people along the cool journey that you're on. That people get some engaged, some interest there to actually get more people to purchase.
stories. Hello. Okay.
Yes.
Like one of the, like, yes, referrals is a big deal. One of the things how I have done kind of like my funnel
Mm,
is IG. I know
yep.
TikTok is really big and everything like that, but I hear an Instagram following is actually more valuable than a TikTok following. Like,
Hmm.
pay per clicks and all that jazz, right? But I like to take my clients through the stories, or potential viewers or potential clients, and then they go into my Facebook group. From my
Hmm.
Facebook group, I actually have like the whole email intake, and that's where I get my emails, because actually
Yep.
I didn't have an email capture there. Like I didn't ask for people's emails. I did that because that was like the number one requested item for me to put there. Like, hey, I want to give you my email. When people come to try to sign up for your Facebook group, capture their email. So boom, they go into my whole community, my whole, what do they call it? Like ecosystem.
Yes.
And then from there, this is what I believe about word of mouth. Word of mouth is not just about people that have worked with you. Word of mouth is people that have seen your brand and
Yes.
recommend you and love what you're doing and love your brand. So I get a lot of referrals from people within my community that have like
Yes.
purchased one of my courses, that have, purchased something from me, and they actually recommend me to other people within that, in that whole ecosystem, which is really fascinating and cool. And that's why I
Hmm.
have a freebie that's about growing your Facebook group and community, because once I found out that if you create a culture within your Facebook community and you have a shop, you can make sales every day.
Hmm.
And I think for the Shopify person, like I know like a lot of people that have a product-based business, they don't think about having a community or Facebook community. But imagine if you had a Facebook community and like all of the people that have purchased from you before is within reach, and you have a sale and they want to hear from you. And maybe in those community, the at everything tax, I know that's pretty controversial right now, but maybe in that type of community that would be beneficial. Like there's a sale, hold up, I'm here for that.
Hmm.
I just noted a lot of product-based businesses do not consider a Facebook community, and that's just like blows my mind.
Yeah,
Mind
I totally
blown.
agree. We have a fashion brand that we work with, and she is killing it and she's been growing and growing and growing. And that's exactly what she does. And we don't just work with fashion brands, but for her, every Wednesday, she does a live and she tries on all the clothes. It's just her in like her basement, you know, her kids are upstairs and she's got the camera, her laptop, their iPad, whatever it is. And she's just talking about the fit and the fabric and like showing all the things. And that girl sells out every week. She does a live every week because she brings in new stuff every week because people are literally like waiting and watching to see like, what is Meredith going to try on this week? She's actually taken a similar approach with a makeup brand that she has where she's like showing people how to use this, you know, makeup that she's selling and how to put it on and how to wear it and like what that red shade looks like and all the things. And yeah, I agree. Like there are huge brands like Three Birds Nest, if anybody wants to check that out, where like still that brand is like multi millions and they are still doing Facebook Lives. Like one of the models in her bathroom like literally does hair tutorials and tries things on, and they're killing it because people, this is why Facebook and Instagram and all of these platforms actually exist. It's like, you know, I always joke like we're all a little bit of a nosy neighbor. We want to know what's going on. We want to see the thing. We're like, hey, I want to check out what so and so is doing. It's word of mouth marketing at its finest.
Yes, thank you. And it's word of mouth marketing. People would rather have someone else that they trust. Ooh, I'm getting chills, girl.
Yeah.
That they trust speaking about a product instead of seeing a picture of a product.
Definitely.
You know? Or having a training. Like for me, I know that one of the secret sauces is going live, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
You want to rev up those sales. You want to get more clients. Even if you have 50 members, 100 members or lower, I'm telling you, it still creates an impact. And that's actually like static information that's always there and you can tag people to, and you can have that as a free resource library. So that was another thing. I had a free resource library. Boom, that brought a VIP clients like you wouldn't believe.
Very
I was
cool.
like, this is amazing. I'm giving away all my secrets. Yeah. Try it out. And this is why, you see, Sarah, like we're two designers, right? And we have two different platforms. But the whole thing about it is I really believe that it's community over competition.
Yes.
Because I may not be for everyone, right?
Right.
And, or you might be for that person. Or, it's all about you meshing well and someone identifying with you. Like, oh my goodness, I know she's the one. And that's why I really recommend going in live or showing up because it actually allows the person to make the decision if you're the right person for them instead of you being like, I am the right person for you.
Yes,
Right?
I totally agree. And I feel like sometimes you hit it earlier when you were saying like, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs try to like go it alone and things like that. And man, can that get lonely and stagnant real quick.
Oh my
And
gosh.
you know, sometimes you don't actually know what you need as an entrepreneur unless you're actually out there and connecting with people and learning and seeing things and being like, wow, Linda does it this way. Like, I didn't even know that that concept existed. You're going to stay in your shell. You're going to end up staying in that shell. Like, you need to really get out there and just be open to the possibilities and like how creative people are, you know, and the things that they're doing. Cause like, it really does take a community when you're trying to do that thing that you want to do.
Oh yeah, and I recommend you, Sarah, for all interviews in the future for any podcast that you want to be on. I recommend that Sarah is a guest. She's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
But,
You too.
Yeah, thank you. So how did we meet? Right, we met in the
Yep,
networking.
that's right.
We met
Yeah,
at Entreprenista.
Mhm.
Yeah, networking group, right? And we would have never
Yep.
connected and meshed well if we didn't connect when even people that are supposedly like killing it on like social media, but they're doing other things behind the scenes. They're like little
Mhm.
ducks, man. They're treading the little duck
Totally.
feet.
I love that concept. So true. All look
You see them
still
all,
at the top, but
yeah, all still like
but
how
really.
is yes, but really like the feet are going boom, 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 boom. You're pedaling, right? The behind the scenes is pretty much networking, right? We're both saying like you want to get your products out there, you want to have this product shop, you want to be on Shopify, you want to grow your business, network. Even hiring a coach is networking.
Mhm.
Like for me,
Yes.
like I have a coach and she brought me one of my first web designer coaching clients, like, so
Mhm.
I'm a coach for web designer at the moment, which is so fun. And
Mhm.
like you were saying, like you needed that confidence. And let me tell you, that definitely gave me a confidence boost. It was like drinking a little energy vial, like,
Yeah. Mhm. You
I'm
get
like,
hooked.
shoot, you do. Like, this is amazing. Because, because you have
Mhm.
this plethora of information that you're like, oh, well, you didn't know that? Yes, you can do X,
Mhm.
Y, Z. So it's so fun. I can talk to you for days, Sarah, and I know our time is
Yeah.
coming up. But if there was one thing that you can leave our audience with, what would that be?
Oh, yeah. So if you've got that thing and it's on your heart, whatever it is, and I call it like the tickle in the ear, the little whisper, like me that came in on vacations or over that glass of wine or that chit chat with my husband, at some point, try not to brush it off and see what happens with that. Allow yourself to just sit in that space where you're like, well, I keep thinking about this thing. Like maybe there's something more to that. And if you need to learn more about it, seek someone out who knows, right? Or tell a friend. And you'd be surprised. That's kind of how it happened for me. It was just, I'm going to think about this a little bit more, and one thing led to another. So don't sell yourself short. If there's something out there you want to do, yes, you can do it, but like don't brush it off, because it's just going to keep coming back.
Amen. I honestly 100% on board with you. I'm in agreement. I come with agreement with you. That is so true. And Sarah, how can people connect with you? Let's say they want to have a Shopify shop. Where can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you, Linda, I hang out on Instagram a lot. So you can find me at Sarah Jansel, or Jansel and Co, ANDCO.com. You can learn about our business, listen to the podcast, find the Facebook group, all the things right in that one spot.
And if someone wanted coaching from you, how can they contact you? Is it at the DMs? Are you selling in the DMs? Because that's also a
Yeah,
thing.
on the
It's
DMs.
not just
Absolutely.
email.
Yes, it's both email and also the DMs for sure. I get a lot of questions and things like that from clients online. Feel free to reach out. Don't be a stranger.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have a chance, stop by the website at lindamendable.com. Sign up for the Blog Cure, which is an awesome course that I created that will help you set up your blog or take your blog to the next level. And join us over at Monetizing Mompreneurs Facebook group. I just want to say again, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Easy.